So I'd like to introduce to you Thaddeus Fulford Jones, who I've had the pleasure of meeting. Thaddeus is an expert in the emerging field of consumer location analytics. Dr. Thaddeus Fulford Jones is CEO of Locately. His team is pioneering the development of new analytical tools to make sense of huge volumes of GPS data for consumer shopper insights, professionals, and advertising effectiveness researchers. Locately's location analytics platform is the real-world equivalent of web analytics. Their technology deciphers how real consumers visit physical retailers, respond to advertising, and make decisions about how to spend their time. So please welcome Thaddeus Fulford Jones.
Thank you, Russ, for that introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. So as mentioned, I'm Thaddeus. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Locately. And Locately is a fairly young company. You may have heard of us. We're based in Boston. Been around for about 3 years at this point. And what we focus on is location analytics, which is actually pretty unique. And basically what it means is we capture huge volumes of GPS data from shoppers who opt in, and we specifically process that data to understand which stores people go to, which ones they drive past, how they spend their time, that type of thing. And then in addition, we have a mobile survey platform that allows us to send triggered, in-the-moment mobile surveys to shoppers when they're actually inside the store. And so I'll have a bit more detail on that today, and also a bit of a case study, and then leaving some time for Q&A at the end. But what I'd like to start with, actually, is a pretty short intro video that just describes, in fairly short order, in about 2 minutes, how Locately works, what we do, and what it actually looks like in real life. So let's see if the technology works, and here goes. So meet Nikki. She loves 2 things, shopping and the outdoors. And she volunteers to share her location with Locately via the GPS chip that's built into her mobile phone. As a result, Nikki gets to be part of our community of engaged consumers who want to connect with brands that they trust and help retailers learn to serve shoppers better. And in return for doing so, Nikki will get rewards, things like free cash, for example, and even entry into exclusive prize draws and free gift cards. And from Nikki's GPS data, we learn a lot of different things about her actual shopper journeys, including trips to her favorite store, which in this case is Target. And sometimes when Nikki's at Target, a notification might pop up on her iPhone inviting her to answer a few different survey questions in return for additional reward. Nikki can tap that bubble to open up the Locately app, and then in this example, a question about Nikki's awareness of sales or special deals at Target after she'd already arrived at the store. But we learn many other things as well from Nikki's GPS data. In fact, she likes Target so much that she's even willing to drive past 2 major competitors just to get there. In this case, she drives past both Walmart and Safeway. But sometimes Nikki's schedule changes, like, for example, on a Friday afternoon when she might leave work early. Then perhaps she'll go to the dollar store instead. Maybe she believes that her regular Target would be just too crazy at that hour with the after-school crowd. And we also learn about where Nikki goes next. So in this case, she heads to Chick-fil-A for dinner. Our analytics engine would automatically detect that visit, surface a question, in this case, about her motivation. Nikki taps in. She loves their wraps and great healthy options. Subsequent question might ask about her menu choices, and she reveals that she buys a chicken wrap and a diet beverage. So the key idea with all of this is that we combine location analytics and in-the-moment mobile surveys to get to know Nikki even better. So of course, conventional online research is great for understanding what people think, but it sometimes misses out on the real-world aspect, on where people go, what they do, what they think in the aisles. So the concept is that our GPS analytics platform, together with those in-store mobile surveys, can get to know Nikki even better, and then we can do the same thing for thousands of other shoppers just like her as well. And so with that, I wanted to sort of describe holistically how we think about this new capability, and it's really in terms of understanding actual shopper journeys. And so in this stylized graphic, imagine that we have a shopper who heads to Walgreens on the left-hand side of the screen. Of course, what we're capturing is actual behavior. That GPS data that we're getting 24/7 from the mobile device is real behavior. It's not just claimed behavior. And imagine that she goes into Walgreens store. We can understand her motivations, trip triggers, including the effect of advertising for things like circulars, special offers, in-store experiences. And then the context of her shopping experience. Maybe Walgreens is her favorite retailer. We can actually ask questions inside that store environment to understand what it is about that shopper experience that resonates. Maybe then she goes across the street to a rival, CVS, learning about her experience there too. And then all of this sort of contextualized with the rich location analytics to actually understand how this shopper journey actually evolves over time. And of course, connecting it in with existing shopper segmentation systems so that you can really start to holistically understand how shoppers behave and think. So with that quick summary, Locately, as a company, we focus number one on location analytics, and then number two on the in-the-moment mobile surveys. In terms of where this technology comes from, it was actually developed by a group of PhD researchers at MIT, and we really founded the company specifically to commercialize this technology for consumer and shopper insights. And one of the ways that we describe it is as the next generation intercept. So probably many of you are familiar with the picture on the left, the traditional in-person shopper intercept, where you have a staffer with a clipboard who's trying to intercept shoppers as they exit the store, ask them to answer a few different survey questions. The concept with Locately is that we can do much the same thing, but we can do it on the mobile platform, so much more scalably and flexibly and more cost-effectively as well. I'd like to spend the rest of my presentation time talking about a specific case study that we did a few months ago, and the title was Understanding the Impact of Promotions on Holiday Shopping at Big Box Retailers. So this was Holiday 2011. Our client in this case was a major big footprint retailer in the US, and this was a geographically focused study that included a mix of urban and suburban geographies throughout the US. And so the concept here, by way of background, was that the retailer came to us aware that their sales volume data, of course they have a huge volume of sales information, but those data alone were not enough to really understand how they can better compete against their rivals and how to win trips. And in particular, this retailer, of course, had never been able to actually connect with their loyalists when they were shopping at the store of a rival. This retailer had done in-person shopper intercepts, but of course, you can only do that on their own property. They'd never been able to connect with those shoppers when they went next door. So the objectives, first and foremost, were to explore how shoppers were responding to various sales and promotions at a wide variety of big footprint retailers, and some of the ones that we looked at, their logos on the left of the screen, and then evaluating the actual path to purchase, true shopper journeys, and importantly, right down at the bottom, identifying which rival retailers were actually executing the best to meet holiday shopping needs. So which retailer was doing a great job, for example, of making sure products were in stock or making sure there was a comfortable customer environment, even with the craziness of the end of the shopping season for holiday. In terms of methodology, what we did was we created a proprietary 300-person panel in several different metro areas within the US. And then all of these panelists opted in for both location sharing and these next-generation intercepts throughout the holiday shopping season. And then we designed a series of different mobile surveys to explore certain need areas. And these surveys got triggered when shoppers went to any of the retailers previously listed on the other slide. So shopping experiences was a big one. How are different retailers meeting my shopping needs for holiday? Also promotions, impact and awareness of sales. Specific sales events really tied into that as well, especially in certain different weeks of the holiday promotional schedule. I wanted to share with you a few examples of data. And so this is the Dallas-Fort Worth area, first of all. It's just a map that's been a little bit grayed out. But overlaid on top of that, I want to show you the GPS traces for the panelists that we had in this geography. And I think this geography was just around about 30 or 40 panelists, perhaps. But the idea is that these blue traces represent actual GPS data points that we were capturing 24/7 from these panelists. So the denser lines indicate travel routes that are more frequently traversed, and then the less dense lines, those faded out lines, those represent routes that didn't get traversed as much. So you can see these little spurs coming off that maybe lead to people's home or work locations. And indeed, one of the things that our technology does is automatically detect where people live. So those little house icons, those are the homes of each of the panelists in these areas. And so we can suddenly start to understand, how does location fit into shopping choices? How far are people willing to travel from home? How does the homework commute fit in more broadly into shopper decisions? And then, of course, the other part of this are all the retailers to which we were monitoring visits. So you can see here all the different logos of the retail locations that we had preloaded into our database for visit detection purposes. Location analytics really becomes very quickly a sort of quant plus qual solution. So the quant side of it is really the fact that we have these huge volumes of data, more than 360,000 location data points captured from these 300-odd panelists during the holiday season. And that translates into almost 2,000 panelist visits to these specific stores of interest. And I think it was 10 different retailer chains that we were monitoring. I wanted to share with you as well some of the qual aspect of this. So this is a panelist story for one of our panelists who we're calling Julie. And she's 37 years of age, has teenage kids at home, lives in Florida, works at a local area high school. And from her survey responses, we know that she's fairly price sensitive. She's definitely orientated around deals and special promotions. And then she self-reported in advance that she does her holiday shopping at several different banners. Kohl's, Sears, Walmart, and Target were named as the key ones. So I want to share with you some real data from one of Julie's shopping trips as she goes about her holiday shopping. And it starts out actually at work. So this is Tuesday, 8th of December, a few weeks before Christmas. She's at work until about 3 p.m. And then this is real GPS data that we captured from her. We see basically Julie going on a driving trip, and in this case, she's heading out to go shopping. So she finishes work and goes on a shopping trip, and it basically is going to come up on the left-hand side, the first stop that she has on her trip. And for these animations, we always like to use big, obvious examples, retailers that everybody's familiar with. So this actually first stop is actually a trip to Walmart. And so the location analytics would automatically detect that visit, and in this case, the precise time of the visit as well. So 3:28 until 4 p.m., approximately 30 minutes in the store. And then what's really interesting is how it actually continues. So in this case, Walmart on its own wasn't enough to completely meet her shopper needs. And if you have good eyesight, you can see what's coming up in the top right. Where she actually ends up going next is a key rival. So she ends up heading along this main road and then turning out onto the right. And of course, where she goes next is a trip to Target. And so Target was one of these 10 retailers where we were specifically triggering mobile surveys and trying to understand shopper motivations. The visit is again detected by the GPS analytics. And then in this case, we also have survey data on her motivation for the visit. She had a specific non-holiday item in mind she needed to buy. She didn't know about sales either before or even during the Target visit as well. And so this is just a small example of the types of things that we discover. But of course, actionability is key. And so I want to share with you some real data about trips on which no purchase was made. And if you're a retailer, you really care about this, of course. And one of the key insights that we found was that 1/5 of all holiday shopping visits actually failed to result in a purchase. So people walking out empty-handed, in other words, which is astonishing when you think of the volume of merchandise that is moving in the Christmas period. And of course, this is something that a retailer could never discover from the volume data alone, from the sales purchase information. You don't know what people didn't buy. And in particular, we found that it was really due to frustration on the part of shoppers, out-of-stock situations, challenge of finding perfect gifts. And in fact, we identified those retailers where it was the biggest problem. So Sears, Macy's, Best Buy, possible reasons for that. High instance of holiday browsing at Macy's, just going to see perhaps. Browse in store, buy online, probably more of an impact for Sears or for Best Buy. And then you can see the percentages there. Also, another core component, so open ends within the mobile surveys. People's comments from Sears shoppers here, they had zero selection. There was nothing on sale worth buying, bad customer service. Macy's shoppers there tried a lot of shirts on, but didn't like any of them, that type of thing. So in terms of the results and the impact, retailer certainly gained a lot of competitive learnings, which were of direct business significance. They were able to make changes as a result of the data we provided. And specifically, we focused in on exactly the stores they were most interested in. So those 10 retailer banners, those were the key competitors, also geographies that were of relevance as well. We actually did a lot of real-time work for this specific engagement. So key findings to certain dates were actually shared immediately during the study so that they could, in real time, make changes in market responsiveness. And then, second to last bullet, they're using these learnings from location analytics to basically design more effective campaigns for this year's holiday season. And more broadly, right down at the bottom, we generated new insights into how consumers shop at key rivals. And that allows this retailer to win back foot traffic and also share of wallet. So this is my last slide, but by way of conclusion, these location analytics and in-the-moment in-store mobile surveys were used successfully in this case in place of the traditional in-person shopper intercept. And certainly the alternative, the in-person shopper intercept, would have been both more costly and also you wouldn't have got that longitudinal data. So we were looking at shoppers throughout the holiday season. We could see how their travel patterns changed, how their responses changed as well, and also, of course, that key competitive element, looking when they were shopping rivals, what were they thinking, what were they seeing. And so key wins for mobile in this scenario. So really the cross-retailer, cross-channel capability was huge. Also this notion of qualitative plus quantitative, the combination of location analytics within the moment mobile surveys, and then finally the rapid turnaround, real-time reporting for that in-market responsiveness ended up being key as well. So that's the end of my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Do you also track traffic in the store? And talk to me about the accuracy of your locator as well.
That's a great question. So GPS and Wi-Fi-based triangulation are the technologies that we use. We have a series of proprietary algorithms that actually get at a really robust understanding of when the shopper is in the store as opposed to outside. So the one thing that I do point out is that location analytics is a lot more than just geofencing. Geofencing might get you within a certain radius of the store, you're in the general area, but if you're a retailer or a CPG manufacturer, you need to know when is the shopper inside that store. And so that uniquely is what our technology does extremely well. In terms of actually doing aisle-by-aisle location tracking, we don't currently do that. We hope at some point in the future to be able to offer that. But there are a few different technical limitations and also logistical. So for example, we don't know the planogram for every Walmart in the country, so we don't know where the frozen food section is as opposed to the seasonal aisle, as opposed to electronics and movies. And then the other part of it is just sort of the technology aspect of that GPS data actually gets changed in different ways when somebody's in an indoor environment. And so our technology has characterized the signatures of how that GPS data changes when somebody's indoors so that we can do the visit detection. But right now, it's not good enough to actually do aisle-by-aisle work. So stay tuned. It's something we'd love to be able to offer in the future when the technology catches up.
So my question follows on hers. Within that store environment, so you might not be able to get to aisle, can you judge vertically by floor, say in a department store setting? I'm thinking about, Manhattan or something like that.
So that's another great question. So the location data that we get carries minimal elevation information, so we actually can't tell if somebody's on the ground floor or on the second floor. So the limitation there is that, say, in an indoor mall environment, we wouldn't be able to tell if somebody's in the Starbucks on the ground floor or the CVS on the next floor or the Borders right up at the top. So what we do in that case is we literally just ask the shopper a question. There'll typically only be stores that there'll be certain stores that we're interested in. Maybe we're interested in drugstores. We're really interested in CVS. Just ask the question, did they enter any of these stores, which we know are in the mall from our other data, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens maybe, and a few others so that we don't bias the respondent. And then if they say yes, then that would be the screener question to go on and complete the rest of the survey. So that's the solution that we use when the GPS data isn't full.
Hi. Woo. Sorry about that. My name is Carol Haney. I'm from Tuluna. Prior to Tuluna, at a previous life, relatively recently, tried to do some geofencing work and just could not find a vendor whose solution worked on the smartphone without doing significant battery drain. And it sounds like you've licked that problem. So if I had to say a huge woohoo at this conference, it would be right at this moment. Because tell us that you have licked that problem.
Yes, I can confirm that we have. And you're absolutely right. And thanks for your enthusiasm, by the way. But you're absolutely right that it is a very big technical challenge to actually capture this GPS data without draining the battery. And if you've got a smartphone yourself, you'll know you turn on a GPS app, battery can be dead within 2 hours. So that's really bad, right? What we've done is we've built a series of intelligent technologies that actually start to understand people's behaviors and over time dynamically modulate how much data we're capturing at different times of day and also on the basis of where they are at different times of day. So to use a simple example, if somebody stays in their office from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. every day, really not interesting at all to capture almost any GPS data. By contrast, if there's someone who goes shopping in the evening after work, much more interesting to dynamically upsample and capture a lot of that rich interest of where they're going, how they're shopping, that type of thing. So yes, typically we find fewer than 1% of all of our panelists complain about any sort of battery issue, and typically those panelists are ones who have very old smartphones where the battery is struggling to make it to the end of the day in any case. So yes, we do consider we've solved that problem.